Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Szamuely. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. Our old friend, Hunter Biden, is back in the news. Yesterday, the New York Post ran a long story based on the discovery of a computer that had been placed in a computer store in Delaware by Hunter Biden himself. Inside the computer were emails sent to Hunter Biden in which a senior executive at Burisma thanked Hunter Biden for having arranged a meeting with Hunter's dad, Joe Biden, who was then Vice President of the United States. This clearly is a smoking gun, at least insofar as what the accusation had been, which is Hunter Biden got this job in order for Burisma to exert influence on the vice president and thereby ensure that no criminal proceedings be brought against Burisma. So this was the first part, the New York Post story. The second part of the story happened later in the day when Facebook and Twitter essentially said that they would prohibit people distributing the story. This is a very big deal because, as we know, Facebook and Twitter have a massive platform, billions of users. And so billions of users were now denied access to this important piece of information with 3 weeks to go before an election. So what's your initial take, Peter?
Well, I mean, I'm glad you broke it down the way you did, because there are two parts here. It's the Hunter Biden story and his activities in Ukraine and vis-a-vis the power relationship that his father had, having control of the Ukraine portfolio. And the second part is how social media has dealt with it. The second part is actually far more important. Is Joe Biden corrupt? Yeah, no big deal there. I mean, now we know some details about it, okay? And those details have been available even without this laptop, even without these emails. We had a pretty good idea what was going on, okay? We can see that when the Ukraine Gate hearings with impeachment, we pretty much figured out who was telling the truth, or basically the omissions all of those witnesses were making. Okay, fine. So this connects a little bit, a few more dots for us. Okay, can you be more disappointed in a politician like Joe Biden? No. Okay, that's standard business. Okay, I mean, that his son was so incredibly lax. I mean, did you see the picture with the crack pipe coming out of his mouth? Whoa, what a high-paying gig to be able to smoke crack in the morning. Okay, I don't want to belabor that. Okay. Obviously, the younger Biden has a lot of problems, okay? And he lives a very comfortable life having those problems. Anyway, the second part is far more important. We have irrefutable evidence now that Twitter and Facebook and others are publishers. They are publishers. Spell it, publishers, okay? And their carve-out, it should be revoked. They are publishers. They're deciding what can be read, okay? And they're breaking their very, very entitled, privileged position in the information space. It must be revoked immediately. Now, we come up with terms like reducing distribution. No, that's called reducing the First Amendment. You have the First Amendment. It's very, very clear. Why should these social media companies determine what freedom of speech is? They do not have that right to do that. This is an exercise in censorship. And of course, we see plenty of people, liberals and their friends in the media, that go along with it, actually cheer along censorship. Okay, this Hunter Biden is a public figure. By the very fact that he is the son of the vice president. Now, if Hunter was doing this stuff in like Venezuela or Vietnam or something like that, I suppose, that's just business as usual. The elite's children do this. But this was with Ukraine, okay? I mean, Joe Biden was head of that portfolio. So this is of interest, and Facebook and Twitter are denying our knowledge of what's going on in the public sphere and with public officials here. Now, initially it came out, well, we don't publish hacks. Well, there is no hack here. It was a notebook, a computer left behind for reasons we do not know. It was a copy of the hard drive was given to the FBI. They didn't do anything about it, apparently. That's a story in itself. And then it's Rudy Giuliani, apparently, is the conduit where it made to the New York Post here. So, or what anonymous sources. Well, what was Russiagate all about? That was all about anonymous sources here. Okay. Or we don't publish things that people don't give their permission. Access Hollywood? Did Trump give his permission? I mean, right. Every step of the way, George, they're liars and hypocrites.
That's exactly right. And of course, Twitter is, however, promoting on its site a Washington Post story, which basically regurgitates the Democratic Party talking points around Ukrainegate. There was no investigation of Burisma at the time that Biden wanted.
There was an investigation.
It isn't true. And then, everybody wanted Shokin, the prosecutor, fired. No, that is not true. It was the Americans who pushed for this. IMF didn't push for this. EU didn't push for this. It was the United States that pushed for this. So they just basically, this story Twitter promotes. And as you said, I mean, the access of Hollywood. And of course, very recently, we had the publication in the New York Trump's tax returns. Now, those were obtained illegally, whether they were obtained illegally from the IRS, New York Attorney General's office, they were nonetheless illegal. No one seemed terribly worried that, hey, you're actually breaking the law about publishing somebody's tax returns without their permission. No, that was fine. You go ahead, publish away. Twitter didn't think that this was anything wrong with that. But we've had this really since the Russiagate era began, which is that if you don't like the information, you then say, well, we're not going to pay any attention to it because it was obtained illegally. But that's because we don't, that's a story. So when we had the WikiLeaks publication, the first publications, which were the DNC emails, and then we had the Podesta emails, immediately, you had, your friend Cuomo, Chris Cuomo, it's illegal to look at this. No. If you look at these emails, you're breaking the law. Of course, it's absolutely nonsensical. Because even if you take the worst possible interpretation, your worst interpretation, which is, yes, it was all hacked by the Russian government, and the Russian government passed this all on to WikiLeaks, it's still important information. It is information that we need to have access to when we make decisions about whom we're going to vote for in an upcoming election. Same goes here.
And based on that notebook, that apparently, I mean, the gentleman, the store owner, I would presume, he knew it was Biden's. Apparently, okay, maybe because he, Hunter broke one of his crack pipes in the parking lot and forgot where he was. Okay, so the words that are taken from those emails on that notebook, those are his words. No one's making this up. This is legitimate information here. All right. But the fact that they make this exception, and they're making an exception, it is so absurd on its face. And then Dorsey comes out and said they didn't handle it very well. I'm paraphrasing here. What does that mean? What does that mean? Okay. That's not an explanation. Apparently, he's not a very bright guy. I keep hearing this from people. But anyway, now, and every step of the way, they have fumbled this here. And that's why their cutaway must be emphatically taken away from them right now. Enough of this here. Enough of this. They are not going to decide they should not be allowed to decide the outcome of any election. And they are tipping the scales right now.
Yes.
Yes. And this is just infuriating. And the thing that really bothers me, George, it's the blue check people that don't say anything, or actually even side with censorship. This is really an abomination, where people, influencers as they call them, are pushing to crush the public sphere. It doesn't end well. It never ends well, George. Okay, and every step of the way, I'm infuriated why people at Twitter, at Google, at Facebook. Why do they have the last word? They are platforms.
That's right.
They are platforms. Are they experts? I mean, if they're claiming to be experts, then you fall into the category of a publisher, and then your privileged position should be revoked. I mean, you can't have it both ways at the same time.
But what's particularly alarming about this is that Facebook, Twitter, Google have power far beyond anything that the traditional media have. I mean, we can talk about the New York Times. You say New York Times is powerful, but it's still competes against other newspapers or other much with newspapers that have much greater circulation than the New York Times. No one has ever had the power that these three internet giants have, and they pretty much will now determine what information we are allowed to consume. And that is truly alarming, because it started off with, oh, well, it'll be the Nazis. We'll just ban the Nazis. Oh, well, we'll just ban the Holocaust deniers. Oh, well, we'll just ban Alex Jones. Now it's sort of everybody. We can't have people who question COVID. We can't have people who question the vaccines. We can't have people who purvey stories about Ukraine Gate. Then you have recently this Senate candidate in Delaware. She's had her account locked out because they didn't like her views on immigration. So now they're full on in the sort of censorship business. They're even censoring the president.
Well, and let's bring it down to earth here. We're talking about ideas here. Let's look at the people that run these companies. The number of them that are strongly publicly affiliated with the Democratic Party is astounding. Okay, people that worked in Obama's White House. Okay, and people that have been in and around Democratic politics for a long time. That revolving door of politics and big business. Now it's politics and high tech. Okay, they're the ones that are making this call here. They're being partisan. They're protecting their interests, which is, I can understand that on one level. But if you're so selfish and so stupid to blatantly just protect your own, what you're doing is destroying it for everyone else here, and everybody knows it. Okay, I mean, the foolishness of this. I mean, what would show their own self-restraint is if they hadn't even reacted to it. It's out there. It's a New York Post story, okay? They run all kinds of stories. Now they put all of the focus on themselves. These people are so unbelievably rich, but they're not very smart. If they had left it alone, it would. What would have happened, George? As I keep saying, Fox would pick up on it. CNN might have a word or two. MSNBC a word or two, and then they'd say, "Oh, that's a Fox News story." Okay, but no. What they did is they put it front and center.
Well, that's true. On the other hand, I have to say I am a little dubious whether anything will ever be done to restrain these internet giants. They have huge resources, and they bought up pretty much the entirety of the House of Representatives and the Senate. I mean, we've seen this with people like the senator from Utah, Mike Lee, who used to be an opponent of the internet giants, and now suddenly he's become a fan of theirs. Why? He's suddenly in receipt of huge amounts of money. So as long as they can wield the resources that they have, they're going to fight off antitrust suits. They're going to fight off the Section 230 of the Communications Decent Act, the revocation of that. They're going to fight. So say, yeah, we're going to take them on. We're going to do this, and this. Yeah, you've had your chance. You haven't done anything yet. So I'm a little skeptical this is going to happen.
I'm more than skeptical. But you know why? because naively, these people that take their monies, to Silicon Valley money, they think that they get protection from it. Okay, they're protected. It's a racket. Okay, but it doesn't work that way. Okay, and particularly the left, they think that they'll be able to use these social media giants. That is very, very naive. Okay, I mean, and that's why they don't talk very much about antitrust, because, well, they're on our side. Okay, no, and you give that, power tends to corrupt, and absolute power corrupts absolutely. And this is what we're seeing happening to us right now. Okay, they pick winners and pick losers. You can't guarantee you'll always be one of their winners. It's a big risk.
Yeah. Which nicely segues into usual discussions, which is the war against populism, and the internet giants are playing a very large role in that. All right, thank you very much, Peter. We're going to come back to this issue again and again. And remember, if you like the gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.